The narrative opens with the portrayal of a figure who has spent decades cultivating a public image centered on the assertion of his extraordinary intelligence. Donald Trump has consistently presented himself not merely as a tycoon and political leader, but as what he personally describes as a very stable genius. A recurring theme throughout his public life has been his derision of highly educated individuals, particularly those from institutions like Harvard, whom he has labeled as overrated, inept, and even unintelligent. This past week, however, that carefully constructed persona sustained a significant blow. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, renowned for her incisive debates and unwillingness to retreat from a challenge, unveiled a document that Trump had dedicated most of his adult years to keeping secret. She produced his academic records from 1965, spotlighting his SAT scores, and the revelation was as mortifying as it was staggering. Donald Trump's performance on the exam barely met the minimum requirements for passing. To grasp the full impact of this disclosure, one must travel back to 1965. At that time, Trump was a young cadet at a military academy, making preparations for university. The SAT stood as one of the most critical assessments for students aiming to demonstrate their fitness for higher education. It functioned as the primary key to college admission and was widely seen as an indicator of intellect, self-discipline, and academic preparation. Jasmine Crockett revealed that Trump's score was a mere 970 out of a possible 1,600. In 1965, the average score for students nationwide hovered between 980 and 990. This places Trump's performance below that of the typical American student of his era. He did not achieve distinction. He did not deliver an impressive result. He most certainly did not validate his claims of genius. Instead, his score was just sufficient to advance, positioning him narrowly above failure and substantially below the benchmark for America's most competitive universities. For an individual who has relentlessly criticized others based on their educational background, the irony is profound. Trump has scorned Harvard alumni as clueless. He has ridiculed academics and attorneys who dedicated years to their studies, implying that his own business acumen and purported brilliance were vastly superior to formal learning. Yet, Crockett's disclosure constructs an entirely different reality. The man who denigrated the Harvard elite was, himself, positioned near the bottom of the academic hierarchy when he faced one of the most pivotal examinations of his life. During her address, Crockett was unflinching. She declared, "Mr. Trump, you've mocked educated Americans for years, but your own scores show you were one bubble away from failing the test." That concise statement struck a powerful chord, as it underscored the hypocrisy of a man whose career was built upon a foundation of arrogance and hyperbole. This disclosure also lends new weight to long-standing rumors concerning Trump's academic past. Several years ago, Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney and fixer, testified to Congress that Trump had compensated someone to sit for his college entrance exams on his behalf. Cohen alleged that Trump had issued threats to educational institutions and the College Board to ensure his academic records were never made public. Trump's frantic efforts to muzzle these organizations now appear entirely logical. Had his actual results been released, they would have demolished his image as a brilliant, self-made success. Crockett's exposé serves as confirmation that Cohen's assertions were not unfounded. Trump had every conceivable reason to bury his SAT scores, as the truth would have shattered the myth of intelligence he had so meticulously crafted. The public response to Jasmine Crockett's revelation was both immediate and intense. Across social media platforms, users began ridiculing Trump with a torrent of memes and hashtags. The phrase "barely passed Trump" started trending within hours, with people highlighting the absurdity of a man who mocked Ivy League graduates while he himself had struggled to achieve a national average score. Some commentators pointed out that his score would not even be deemed acceptable for a mid-tier university today. Others circulated comparisons illustrating how Trump's results, when adjusted for modern standards, would place him far behind the very individuals he belittles. Late-night television hosts and political analysts also weighed in, concluding that the genius narrative had finally crumbled under the irrefutable evidence of numbers. Trump's allies scrambled to mount a defense. Their argument centered on the idea that test scores are not a definitive measure of intelligence, that numerous successful individuals have performed poorly on standardized tests, and that Trump's business achievements are more telling than an exam from 1965. However, this line of reasoning encountered a critical flaw. Trump himself has consistently used academic metrics like grades, test scores, and IQ claims to gauge intelligence. He has famously boasted of an IQ of 180 without ever providing substantiation. He has challenged other politicians to release their academic transcripts while zealously guarding his own. The arguments of his defenders collapse when held up against his own long history of self-aggrandizement and disparagement of others' educational credentials. Crockett articulated this contradiction perfectly when she stated, "When you measure others by standards you yourself never met, that's not confidence, it's fraud." The broader ramifications of this episode extend far beyond mere test results. Trump's entire brand has been contingent on an aura of superiority, superior financial success, superior intuition, and superior intellect. The discovery that the very basis of his intellectual claims is far flimsier than advertised strikes at the heart of his credibility. It forces a critical reevaluation of how much of his career was built on exaggeration, privilege, and concealment rather than on genuine talent or brilliance. If his SAT scores were subpar, how did he secure admission into prestigious universities? Was it his family's considerable wealth? Was it their influence? These are unsettling questions, but they point toward a more profound truth. Trump's ascent was not purely a product of merit, but was significantly enabled by the power of privilege and the deliberate creation of a myth. This revelation also highlights a new political vulnerability for Trump. For a leader who thrives on ridicule and personal insults, being exposed as less intelligent than those he critiques is a severe blow. Intelligence has been a primary weapon in his arsenal, used to dismiss opponents as stupid or unqualified. Crockett's disclosure effectively disarms him of that weapon. His critics now have a simple, factual retort: 970 out of 1,600. In the realm of political combat, simplicity is powerful, and those numbers are likely to shadow him in headlines, social media posts, and opposition advertising for the foreseeable future. As the situation develops, one reality becomes undeniable. The man who derided Harvard graduates while anointing himself a genius has been exposed by his own past. His SAT score narrates a different tale, one of mediocrity, advantage, and a desperate effort to obscure the truth. Crockett's revelation does more than just expose Trump's hypocrisy. It serves as an important reminder for the public. True intelligence is not demonstrated through arrogance, but through honesty, discipline, and a genuine respect for knowledge, qualities Donald Trump has consistently failed to exhibit. Crockett's disclosure has torn away his mask, revealing not the image of a genius, but the reality of a man who just barely passed.